everyone, Tyler here with Financial Life Hacks, giving you an update on my Roofstock property in Baldwin, Missouri. Been about 22 months since my last video, so wanted to provide you an update. What I'm going to do is walk you through the good, the bad, and the ugly, and then give my verdict towards the end as to whether I think it was all worth it, whether I plan on keeping the property or plan on selling it. So before we dive in, wanted to just quickly pull up this Zillow listing of the property. You can see it was sold in August 2020. Zestimate now $229K, probably way high, but just as a basis. I bought the property for $160K back in July of 2020. So about a month and a half away from 2 years. So been a little bit, definitely benefited from housing prices going up significantly. So just real quick, for those who don't know of this cloud analyzer that Roofstock offers to anyone and everyone, you can just Google it. Essentially, if I were to take a look at the same property, it's going to punch in the Zillow price of $229K, 20% down payment. It's going to assume the rent is about $1,600. That's not actually true. My rent's $1,350 right now, and we'll talk about that in more detail. So you look at the cash flow. It's actually showing not that great. It's about $1,000 a year, which is less than what I'm shooting for of at least $2,400 a year or $200 per door, $200 a month is what I'm shooting for. However, you will see, that it's in a good neighborhood, 4.5-star neighborhood. There's some good schools around here. It's in a really good area, all in all. So let's pivot over. I did an adjustment for basically what I bought it for, right about $160, rent of $1,350. Now you'll see the cash flow is kind of more in line with what I'm looking for. $2,500 a year breaks down to over $200 a door. We'll further dive into that to verify whether that is accurate or not. So some good news. I've been getting a lot of offers in the mail. I'm guessing the property is a public record, and people who are buying houses can just contact me however they like. And so I get a lot of offers in the mail, all cash offers. This one in particular, I wanted to show everyone because it literally is like a fake check saying, hey, give us a call within 30 days and we can turn this check into reality. And just to show, yeah, Zillow was showing what, 229K or so. This is a check for 193K, good as gold. This was issued in, I think it was like around April. It says somewhere on here in April. So it was like 2 weeks ago that they offered this. So this is still technically valid, if I did want to call this person and, sell the property for 193K, being that I bought it for 160, I'm making at least, 33K on that. And that's just, worst case scenario, they're definitely trying to lowball people. Even here's another one. I mean, another guy, looking to buy houses, all these printed ads. It's funny. I've seen a million different letters and postcards and all sorts of things of people trying to buy this property in Missouri. So pretty interesting, but I think it kind of just attests to the market's really, really hot in Missouri. I mean, everyone's trying to scoop up property. So that's certainly good. Want to dive into, so I guess what's good is I've only had to spend about 15 minutes managing this property per month, like very, very little time managing this. It kind of comes in waves where a month will go by, 2 months will go by where I won't do anything. I'll get no calls, no emails. We're good. And then occasionally, every third month or so, I'll get like, an email if there's some issue, the dishwasher's not working or some random thing, the garage won't close. And the property management company just takes care of it. Sometimes they ask me for approval on something. If it's over like $200-300, you can set that threshold and I'll just, say yes, but it's very, very minimal. The only time where I've had to actually like get involved is they wanted to have me help them set them up into this like communal utilities thing where basically the property management company saves on utilities. And because my credit was frozen, they needed some assistance by me to call the company and unfreeze my credit and get that all taken care of. But that was very minimal. Aside from that, there's some things around when the previous tenant left and the new tenant came in where we were kind of figuring out like the vacancy and what repairs we wanted to do during that period. During the flip, quote unquote, when they're screening the new tenant, they're reaching out to me and kind of asking my thoughts on different tenants that they were screening and, whether I ultimately approved them or not. So just minor little things in there, but all in all, it's been very, very hands off. I still have yet to see the property in person. I've had it almost 2 years. I've never been there. I've never seen it. I've done a lot of things all just purely remotely, so it is 100% possible. Don't be discouraged if you live in a different state. So that's the good. The property management company, for the most part, has been pretty easy to work with. They handle all my work orders, everything. I mean, it's pretty automated. In terms of the bad, there've definitely been a handful of repairs. So I'm just going to kind of pull up this list. So this is kind of just one of maybe 2 or so lists of just all sorts of little repairs, touching up paint, filling cracks, repairing blinds, replacing filters, cleaning gutters. We did during the turn of between tenants, we did power wash the siding. We did a lot of landscaping, pulling weeds, mowing, just, making sure the property looked really nice, glazing the tub, caulking around the tub, just all sorts of, minor kind of maintenance things, which was, good and bad. Bad in that, you got to spend some money and you got to spend some time, hiring people to do that. Good in that the property management company handled that all for me. They have a company that they work with that has like fixed rates on hourly, kind of maintenance people to go do that stuff. And they will pick up all the supplies and everything and just bill me. And so let's see if I have the picture. So here's kind of a couple pictures, and they'll send detailed pictures of all the repairs they do, kind of just sealing different things on the roof, repairing different pipes, all sorts of just random repairs. They're always sending me pictures of things that they do, putting in GFI certified outlets. We had a city inspector that had to come out in between tenants and basically like re-verify that the house is like safe for the next tenant. And so the first time the city inspector came out, there's like a couple of odds and ends that they're like, hey, you need to fix these before you have my blessing. And so the company came out that does all the repairs and everything, came out, changed all those things. City inspector came back out, gave the green light. But they send these nice, invoices of like how many hours that it take to do all the work, the cost of all the materials. They'll even in an email kind of outline everything they fixed or repaired. So yeah, it's a decent chunk of money, $1,600 to get everything all nice and looking good for the next tenant, but it's just the cost of doing business, in my opinion. So let's see. So the bad, I'd say, is, well, 2 things. So one, there was a sewer repair that needed to be done. So when I bought the property, one of the best things I did was pay for a sewer line inspection. Cost, I don't know, $300-400. They found that one of the cast iron pipes going from the house out to the city sewer was pretty sunken and damaged by all sorts of roots and stuff, had all these cracks. And I had known from the Roofstock, there was some report that Roofstock provided when I bought the property, basically saying like any known issues. And one of the things that the tenant had constantly brought up was that, the toilet was occasionally like overflowing, like once a month or every other month. So I knew it was a problem going into it, and negotiated with the seller a $5,000 credit at closing. So we did get the $5,000 credit. I knew at some point in time I'd need to fix the sewer. I was kind of just the sewer line. I was kind of just pushing it off until it became a bigger headache. It eventually got to that point. I'd say middle of 2021, we were having a handyman go out there like every 2 weeks and unclog the toilet or do something, and it just became a nightmare. We had all sorts of plumbing companies come out and do sewer line inspections and give us quotes, and it just became enough of a burden where I was like, I need to just tackle this head on. It was getting worse. So we went out to bid. We reached out to 3 different companies to repair the sewer. I have a screenshot for 2 of them, which one of them I'll show you. Let's see which one it is. So I'm not going to scroll up to the top of the company, but it was like CD Potter Plumbing. And so basically they're going to do a traditional like sewer line repair where they're going to go in through the master bedroom and like dig through the floor and like remove like stuff in the bathroom. And it was super invasive. And then like from the outside, they're going to like replace this pipe, and just seemed like a lot of headache. And also it was, decently costly. So you'll see, $7,300 to do the job. That also doesn't really account for, concessions to the tenant, putting the tenant like up in a hotel or something. So I wanted to explore, additional bids. So we went to a second company. Again, wanted to do it kind of a traditional way of digging through the floor and getting to the pipe that way. And that company was actually more expensive. I think it was like 8 or 9 grand. And that did not include repairing the wall or like any other like damage they made to the house, which is crazy. So I just determined that was just way too much of a risk to, pay that high of a price and, not even know what the end goal is going to be as far as like what in the wall they need to patch or in the, in the floor they need to pour new concrete or who the heck knows. It seemed very invasive. So then I started exploring like alternative options of, hey, what if we, went out to a company that can like, pour some sort of like liquid down the pipe and expand the pipe and basically do a non-invasive way of repairing the pipe. And so turns out the property management company that I work with, Frontier Property Management, they've actually done this before in a handful of other properties. And for whatever reason, they didn't think of it initially, but they got me in touch with these people, New Flow. This stuff is awesome. So, not getting paid for this ad or anything, but just wanted to quickly show you what it is. They basically take these old crappy pipes here on the left. They could have all sorts of holes from roots and stuff digging into them. And they blast this like, I don't know, some sort of like liquid something. And then it basically expands with a balloon and then it hardens and it basically like turns the old pipe more or less into a new pipe. So again, you kind of see they pour in this liquid, scroll down, they first clean the pipe, they shoot in this liquid, they expand it, they let it harden, and then boom, you got a new pipe. They don't need to like dig in through the floor. They don't need to like dig in the walls or remove the toilet or like any of that stuff. So I was very excited to go with this option. Also ended up being the most cost-effective option. So you'll see here what I've highlighted down is $5,400 to repair the sewer line in this form. What that did cause is we did need to give a concession to the tenants because they needed to be outside of the house for 3 days. So we put them up in a hotel for 3 days, and we'll talk through kind of like what that concession looked like. But that was honestly probably the biggest thorn in my side with owning this property over the past just about 2 years is fixing the sewer. And I'm hoping that now that it's fixed, we haven't had any issues since. This was done in August of last year. So no issues since August of last year. I'm hoping, it lasts for a very, very long time. So that was the big issue. The other big issue was some stuff around vacancy. There's some miscommunications around, the old tenant leaving, the new tenant coming in, and then just due to some Missouri law where the city inspector has to come out. And then we were kind of still in the middle of a pandemic and the city inspector was booked out, super, super far. They could not get a city inspector to come out and take a look at my house. Not only that, but there were things that were missed and the city inspector had to come out twice. So all in all, the property sat vacant for like 2 months, which was absolutely brutal. A lot of processes were changed due to that, due to the miscommunications. And I think we're in a much better space now where going forward, the turnaround is going to be much quicker. It's, I'm anticipating, a week, 2 weeks turnaround, having all our ducks in a row, getting the city inspector out, having it done right the first time, because it did cost me a lot of money having that house sitting vacant for 2 months. So let's dive into the actual numbers. We'll kind of walk through this a little bit more. So actually, I'm going to show one other quick thing real fast. So here's the actual like ledger of income and expenses that the property management company sends me, and they send me this monthly, which is really nice to look at because it's broken down really, really nicely. So I didn't show 2020s, but this is all of 2021s. So you'll see the rent income, it's essentially $1,350 a month. Here it was $1,450. There's 1 month here it was $1,215. Obviously the 2 months where it sat vacant, July and August, were absolutely brutal because we had no rental income coming in, but I was still paying the mortgage. The good thing is I wasn't paying any property management fees because they weren't actually, managing anything. So all in all, you'll see here about, $14,000 in rent income last year. And then you can kind of see everything broken down, even further, all the different expenses, all sorts of random stuff from, cleaning and doing all the repairs, getting out the city inspectors, putting locks on the doors, changing filters, doing some mowing, doing some snow removal type services if it was needed, just all sorts of random stuff kind of broken down here. So you can see like lawn and snow removal. One thing that's nice is you'll see here sewer line OpEx. So this was something that previously, like I was paying for the sewer for them to come and repair it. We've now factor that into the new lease so that the tenant's actually paying this sewer fee, which is going to save me, close to $600 a year, which is, really nice. We're also saving some additional money going forward this year on like the electricity and some of these other utilities. So that's nice. Permits in the city, that fee is basically, every time a new tenant comes to bring a city inspector out to, give his blessing that the house is good. So granted the tenant stays for more than a year, that cost can kind of go away as well. The big items were honestly around, the maintenance, repairs, and labor. So this $7,000 also includes the cost of doing the that new flow kind of in place sewer replacement. That was about $5,400. So that's a very, very big chunk of the maintenance costs. Total operating expenses, this includes their monthly maintenance fee of $108, all those different utilities, the permits, all these maintenance and repairs. I mean, all sorts of different stuff. And it's actually pretty high. I mean, $13,147 is pretty dang high considering, we only brought in right around $14K in rents. So, if you scroll down, basically the delta, the net operating income is right around $750. Divided by 12 comes down to what, like 50, $60. So pretty not ideal, not anywhere near the 200 that I'm shooting for. However, we had some anomalies, with the pandemic, with, the 2 months of vacancy, with the big sewer line repair, paying for the sewage, all those different things. So I want to walk through, yeah, that doesn't look appealing at first glance, but let's walk through the actual numbers and get a better idea of, where this property is sitting in terms of, long-term forecasts, looking at 5 years, 10 years out. So purchase at 160K, the original loan balance, 120K. I'm down now to a principal balance of 113K. Just checked it today. So it's about $6,500 have already been paid down so far by the previous tenant and the current tenant, which, dividing by about the 22 and a half months I've had the property, about $288 a month is being paid towards the principal balance on the loan, which is awesome because this, I look at it as kind of a forced savings account. $288 is set aside every month towards paying down this loan, and 28 years, because it's a 30-year fixed mortgage, it's going to be paid off. And ideally, if I can have someone pay off my loan for the next 28 years, perfect. That sounds great to me. So let's look at the Zillow estimate. I know when we first started this video, 229K, it's probably high to be honest, but given, I got a cash offer 2 weeks ago for 193K, it's probably somewhere in the middle is what I would estimate, maybe 210K, 215K, something like that. So just looking at the total equity, so, these numbers minus my current principal balance, on the high end, about 115K in equity, on the low end, about 80K in equity, which is, absolutely fantastic. The way I'm looking at this property is it's not a cash cow in terms of bringing in a high cash flow every month. And I'm saying that, just right now, I think it will be in the next year to 2 years. But right now it's, definitely not, cash flowing very heavily, with the $50 or so a month that it's cash flowing. If we look at like what it's increased from my purchase price of 160K, on the high end, it's increased about $69,000 in value, or about 43% increase over the past 2 years. On the low end, it's gone up about 33K, or a 21% increase in the past 2 years. Again, we've had an abnormally high housing market where things are just going through the roof. Who knows how long it's going to last? Who knows if home values will crash? One thing I've actually considered doing is, well, maybe not so much now with interest rates climbing up, but at one point in time, I thought about doing a cash out refinance or doing a home equity line of credit or something like that to pull some value out of the house and maybe use that money towards another property. At the end of the day, I didn't do it because I didn't want to over leverage myself with just how things are going right now and interest rates going up, but something to consider. So looking here on the left side, so I locked in a 3.5% interest rate on a 30-year fixed, which, in hindsight is fantastic now that rates are, 5, 6, 7%, especially even on a second home or a rental property. So rent $1,350. Again, one thing that I was, not the most pleased with is with our property management company, we talked about raising the rent from the previous tenant to the new tenant. That did not happen. Somehow that was missed in the communications, which was quite upsetting. As you can see, Roofstock and their cloud estimator, they're estimating that current rents in that market are about $1,600. I think my rents are very undervalued compared to what other properties in the area are getting. If the tenant that's there now doesn't renew their lease come this August, September, we'll definitely be raising rents. I don't know to exactly what. I'll be looking at my property management company to kind of get their opinion on that, but I'm thinking we could probably raise things to $1,500 or somewhere around that range. So monthly mortgage 901 through Rocket Mortgage, not too bad. At the surface level, it looks like there's about $450 in monthly cash flow. Once you kind of dig a little deeper, property management costs $108 a month. The expenses, I kind of put a range. So on the high end, if you factor in the new flow sewer line replacement, assuming there could very well be other CapEx issues like that, hopefully not as large, like a $5,000, $6,000 repair, but you're looking at about $600 a month on the high end. On the low end, if you take out the sewer repair, it's about $150. I'd say this is more in line, without the anomalies like the sewer line repair. Before I fixed that, I was averaging about $200 a month. So this is even a little bit lower. But as you can see, if the expenses are really high, the profit is not good, losing $260 a month. On the low end, if I can keep expenses down, my profit's about $188 a month, which still is not quite at my $200 a month target. But again, there's some other intrinsic value to this property, such as the property going up significantly in price, getting more equity in the property. They're paying down my mortgage. I've basically gotten $6,500 out of that over the past 2 years. And then all these tax write-offs. So I'm not a tax accountant, so don't take my word for it, but I'm just kind of doing some calculations with my taxes this past year. I had mortgage interest, which is a write-off of about $4,000, insurance premiums for the property taxes, repairs here. This is all encompassing of the sewer line as well as some other repairs that needed to be done. And then kind of looking at depreciation, where you look at the initial cost basis of the house of $160K divided by 27.5. I don't know if this is entirely accurate because I was reading online that you need to break out basically the actual value of the home versus the value of the land, and you, I guess, can't depreciate the value of the land. So this may actually be a little bit lower. But all in all, $21,000 in basically tax write-offs, which, if that helps bring down my taxes a little bit, there's certainly some cost savings there. I think, however, I'm in the state of Minnesota. I think maybe it's just Minnesota, but maybe it's all around the country. I think you're limited to like $12,500 in tax write-offs for a rental property before it carries over into the next year. So irregardless, this $21K, I'm really not seeing the full benefit of the tax write-off there. Way over the $12,500 allotment. So still some tax write-offs, but not exactly that much. So with all that being said, yes, there's some bad and some ugly. However, I think we've gotten to a place where we've pushed past that. We have really good communication now with the property management company. We're going to make sure we stay really on top of any vacancy or city inspections that need to be done, and making sure we're fixing things, before the city inspector comes and makes us need to, do it again. As well as, trying to get tenants that are in for more than a year, also raising the rent to be more in line with what the market value is. So those are just a couple easy things that we're working on to get this property in a better spot, trying to keep the repairs and the expenses down. Whether it's buying, higher quality stuff, or, maybe getting some sort of insurance plan or something for some of the larger CapEx repairs to get those covered. Still evaluating that. But with all that said and done, I'm absolutely keeping this place. Would love to see it, keep slowly going up in value, while having the mortgage, keep getting paid down by someone living there, keep slowly kind of raising the rent, whether it's $50 a year or $100 a year, or, whatever that is to combat inflation. And eventually, hopefully have the place bought outright and just have, a ton of equity in it. I also, again, I don't really spend a lot of time managing this place, so it's pretty easy. It's pretty much on autopilot. I'm actually looking at buying, hopefully another property on Roofstock by year end in the Missouri area, just because I'm tracking a lot of properties in a lot of different states, and the Missouri ones, the numbers just seem to make sense. They got really great neighborhood scores, great school scores. The cash flow on like the rents to what you buy it for just make a ton of sense. And the houses look really great, to be honest. I mean, looking at, the pictures of the house, and, looking at the inspection report and all that stuff, I mean, it just makes a ton of sense. That's my 22-month review. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you have any questions. Stay tuned for the next update or a potential next purchase. Looking to buy another Roofstock property by year end. If that's the case, I will walk you through my thought process and continue to document my journey. Hope you guys found this video helpful. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.